Good morning and welcome, everyone. Um, Welcome to our Tuesday, January 20th, 2026 Administrator Matters meeting for the Larimer County Board of County Commissioners. I am Chair Larimer County Commissioner Jody Shad McNally. I call this meeting to order. Would you please all stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you all for joining us today. And welcome again. I'm Chair Larimer County Commissioner Jody Shad McNally. I just want to address something really quick. The beginning of our meeting, if you haven't heard or seen, you probably will. There is a train stuck and snarled right next to our building here, which is dividing down Old Town Fort Collins right next to our building. And so traffic and a lot of folks who need to be at this meeting today are running or having to take other routes for at least adding 10 to 30 minutes to their commute. So we are going to press on, but as we have folks enter the room, we're just going to let them enter the room quietly, but we're going to go ahead and continue with our meeting since the board is here and ready to roll. And I hope everyone is safe, and I wish all that are dealing with this safety and hope this resolves. And I hope everyone is being patient and gives everyone some grace today. So with that, I am joined by my colleagues here at the dais. We have Larimer County Commissioner Kristen Stevens. We also have Larimer County Commissioner John Kafalis. We are joined with our clerk's office, and we have Diane Cheney. Thank you for being here today, and appreciate the notes and your diligence for us as a board, and we're thankful for that. We also have Sarah Martin from the Commissioner's Office, who will be helping us with lots of things this morning, as we are just being flexible today and nimble. So this is great. So now we're going to move on to public comment. I don't see anyone signed up for public comment today, and we have staff in our wonderful Larimer County Sheriff's Office in the audience today, so I don't see there's public comment. Anybody want to give public comment today? Okay, I don't see anybody in the audience. Sarah, would you see if there's anyone online?
There is no one online, Commissioner.
Thank you. So just so you all know, we welcome public comment. It's a great opportunity to share with the board what you're thinking. And so now we'll close public comment, and we'll move on to approval of the minutes. We have the draft minutes for the week of January 12th, 2026. I will ask commissioners and my colleagues, any changes or anything to adjust on the minutes? Okay, so Commissioner Stevens, would you please make that motion?
Yes, Madam Chair, I move to approve the minutes for the week of January 12th, 2026.
Thank you. We have a motion on the table. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Great. Sarah, let's go to the schedule review.
This is the Commissioner's schedule for January 26th through the 30th, 2026. And I might read it a little bit slower than normal today. On Monday, January 26th, from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally may participate in the virtual Behavioral Health Consumer Advisory Council and Technical Advisory Council meetings. From 12 p.m. to 1 p.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally may participate in the virtual Colorado Forest Health Council Leveraging Resources Committee meeting. From 1:30 p.m. to 2:30 p.m., there will be a work session with Leslie Ellis, who is the Director of Community Planning, Infrastructure, and Resources in the Commissioner's Conference Room on the second floor. From 3 p.m. to 6 p.m., there will be land use items with the Development Review Team. It's a hybrid meeting. In person, it will be in the hearing room on the first floor or virtually via Zoom. From 4 p.m. to 6 p.m., Commissioners Kafalis and Shattuck McNally may attend the Larimer County Sheriff's Office annual awards ceremony. This will take place at the Timberline Church at 2908 South Timberline Road in Fort Collins. On Tuesday, January 27th, from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., there will be an administrative matters meeting in the hearing room on the first floor. From 1:30 p.m. to 3 p.m., there will be administrative direction to county management in the Sprague Lake Conference Room on the second floor. On Wednesday, January 28th, from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m., Commissioners Kafalis and Shattuck McNally may attend the North Fort Collins Business Association meeting at the Rocky Mountain Innisphere at 320 East Vine Drive in Fort Collins. From 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., Commissioners Kafalis and Shattuck McNally will attend the Commissioners Club Luncheon at Club Tico at 1599 City Park Drive in Fort Collins. From 1:30 p.m. to 2:30 p.m., there will be a work session for a quarterly update on progress of the 2024 through 2028 strategic plan in the Commissioners Conference Room on the second floor. From 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally may attend the Community Advisory Board meeting. It's a hybrid meeting. In person, it will be at 200 Peridot Avenue in Loveland or virtually via Zoom. From 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., Commissioner Kafalis may attend the Housing Catalyst Employee Appreciation Party at the Lincoln Center at 417 West Magnolia Street in Fort Collins. On Thursday, January 29th, from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally may attend the Colorado Forest Health Council Legislative Breakfast at the State Capitol at 200 East Colfax Avenue in Denver. From 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally may participate in the virtual Colorado Fire Commission Prescribed Fire Subcommittee meeting. Excuse me. On Friday, January 30th, from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m., Commissioners Stevens and Shattuck McNally may participate in the virtual Colorado Counties, Inc. stakeholder meeting. And from 12 p.m. to 1:30 p.m., Commissioners may participate in the virtual Colorado Counties, Inc. Steering Committee legislative briefing meeting.
Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate that. And colleagues, did you have any additions, Commissioner Stevens?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I will also attend the Sheriff's Office Annual Awards Ceremony on that Monday. I didn't have it on my calendar, but I'd like to attend that. And then I believe there's a Fair Board meeting on Wednesday, January 28th. But maybe not. But I'm surprised that hasn't popped up on my calendar. So I think that because there's usually a Fair Board meeting the same night as the Community Advisory Board meeting. So I guess we can double check on that. And that's all for me. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Kafalis, do you have changes or additions?
I do not have any
Great.
changes.
Sarah, I have one, but I don't think it's really necessary. I have to go visit Estes Park. I'm going to be heading down to the Capitol for this state destination marketing organization event as the board member. So that's at the, let's see, it's at the, it's right next to the Capitol. I forgot. I'll get you the address. It's a site right off site. So, but I was asked been asked to do that. But anyway, so that's all we have. So let's move on now. And thank you, Sarah, again. To the consent agenda, we as I'd like to share with others that the consent agenda consists of items of no perceived controversy and routine administrative actions such as abatements, agreements, deeds, final plats, liquor license, resolutions, and other matters previously reviewed by the Board of County Commissioners. And staff recommends approval of the consent agenda. A commissioner may request that an item be pulled, excuse me, off the agenda considered separately. Items pulled from the agenda will be considered after the board takes action on the remainder of the consent agenda. So at this time, I'm going to read through our consent agenda. Forgive me for clearing my throat. I apologize. Today, for January 2026, we have one agreement, which is an amendment to Exhibit A of the intergovernmental agreement regarding construction of certain Larimer County open space infrastructure during the Chimney Hollow Reservoir construction. We have two appointments. We have one which is a midterm appointment to the Lake Estes Public Improvement District of Mr. Muncher. And we also have a recommended appointment to the Rainbow Lakes Estate Public Improvement District of, I'm going to just say George because I still have trouble pronouncing his last name, which is a wonderful last name. We have a miscellaneous item, which is Q4 2025 Public Trustee Report, which is submitted by our Larimer County Treasurer and Public Trustee, Irene Josie. Thank you. Irene Josie, we appreciate that. And then we have number 2 is a Homeland Security Grant Program 2025 application. This was request for final submission of the Homeland Security Grant application to the FEMA agency, and this has been submitted by the Larimer County Sheriff's Office. And then we have number 3, the monitoring and permit deviation reports, which has been submitted at the landfill since these are semi-annual reports that were required by the landfill's air emissions permits. And since Larimer County purchased the flare from the Larimer Energy on May 1st, 2025, we are now operating 2 permits. And so this is the monitoring and permit deviation reports. There's 2 of them. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stipulations to tax year 2025 value. And again, if you have any questions on these items, you can go to the website. They are listed in more detail. We have a policy, which is Board of County Commissioners Division of Responsibilities, which had been already approved earlier this month, but this was submitted again in order to undergo some minor revisions of formatting, correction of a typographical error, and clarification. So with that, we have several items, and so I will ask now if my colleagues have any items they wish to be pulled. Commissioner Kafalis, would you like to have an item pulled, sir?
Yes, thank you. I would like to have item 2 under miscellaneous Homeland Security Grant Program 2025 application pulled for discussion purposes only, and to invite Sheriff Fahin to come forward to present, explain the proposal, and answer any questions that may arise. Thank you.
Okay, so you're asking for just some clarification as we're considering the consent agenda. You don't wish to be pulled for a whole other discussion item.
That is correct. I don't necessarily wish to push it off of the consent agenda, but I would like to have a discussion and a presentation by the sheriff to provide some background to explain the purpose of the proposal and answer any questions that may arise.
Okay, thank you, sir. And Commissioner Stevens, are you okay with that? Just having it just pulled when not
I'm fine with that,
okay.
if that's allowed.
And I see from our Assistant County Manager, Lori Cadridge, that she agrees that's good. So I will now invite our great partner, Larimer County Sheriff John Fahin, to the podium to, I believe there's some questions about item number 2, the grant application. Thank you for being here, sir, and I appreciate you arrived safely. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson, Board Commissioners. I'm John Fahin, Larimer County Sheriff, and can I project? I do. Do I just plug it in?
Madam Chair, quick comment.
Commissioner?
Yeah, thank you. While the sheriff is setting up the presentation, I just want to say thank you to Sheriff Fahin. We had a bit of a conversation about all this, and essentially, I mean, my perspective on all this is that some constituents have raised concerns about the flock ALPR camera system that we've had in place now for at least a few years, and I wanted an opportunity to have that conversation in a more open setting. So thank you so much for taking the time, sir.
No, you're quite welcome, and I appreciate the opportunity. My apologies for being tardy.
No, you're not tardy. You were right on time.
The train stuff.
No, I know the train stuff, but no, sir, you're right on time. Your timing could have been more impeccable because you're right at the moment where we needed you to be aware. So if you'd like to proceed, I think all 3 of us would probably have questions. So
absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
So let me see if I can head some of those off and tell you kind of where we're at in Larimer County as well as nationally. I have a little bit. So in my commentary to the public, this is one of the things. I just stole a couple of these slides that I share with the public when I do community things. When I talk about what concerns me in the future with public safety. This AI, drones, but so I stole a couple of things. We're not going to get into the drones and the AI stuff, except when it relates to the flock camera. So, very concerned that this is, or not concerned, very aware that this is a concern for our citizens in the state of Colorado for a variety of reasons in this upcoming legislature. Now, flock camera is one of many systems out there. It's just the one that's getting the most national attention, and they're cohesively are called ALPRs, or automated license plate readers. So again, many companies, just like body cams, where Axon has lion's share of the market out there, there are many other manufacturers of body cams. Same kind of thing. ALPRs have been around since 1973 and were created in the United Kingdom to begin with. So this, if you've never seen one, this is what a flock camera looks like that it's used in Larimer County by multiple agencies. The Sheriff's Office, Fort Collins, Loveland, and there's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of about 150 of these cameras throughout our communities in various locations. Not all of them controlled by the Sheriff's Office. What's before you today, if you recall, last summer, one of our service proposals was to fund our ongoing flock camera system that we've had in place for about 4 or 5 years now. It didn't pass, and that's fine. It's not what I'm here to talk about, right? So we went to look for other alternative funding mechanisms, and this grant, to the Homeland Security Grant, allows us to fund our current flock system capabilities for the next 3 years. So it's about $130,000 a year is what the expenditure is. So $360,000 covers pretty close to 3 years, $320,000. So let's talk about what flock camera does not do. It does not record audio. That was a question that came up. So there's no microphones on there. We can't hear what's going on inside the car. It's not a shot spotter for like gunshot detection. It records your license plate as you drive through in a direction. It also records. If the picture's clear enough, it can record make and model. It can be identified by, like, if you have a Rams Village parking sticker in the back window, and all the information that we have there's a sticker in the back left corner of the. It can sort by those kinds of things as well, even without a license plate. The information. So let's talk about what we do with it and how that works. So we own the data. Flock does not have access to the data. Quite honestly, they are a CJIS compliant platform. So all of our criminal justice information goes into the AWS, the Amazon cloud, just like similar to what the Google cloud that we use for our emails and for our communications and for a variety of other things here at the county. So it has that same level of security and encryption, and they are prohibited from selling the data to anybody else. So we use it, we keep it. It is automatically deleted unless it's been downloaded for an investigative purpose after 30 days. State law requires a mandatory 1 year at maximum retention, but we do it at 30 days. Let's see, what else can I tell you about it? Hang on a second. So right now we do share our data with approximately 634 agencies across the nation, and that's not unusual. Everywhere from Florida to Seattle to everywhere in parts in between. The New England states seem to be an outlier. There's not a lot in the New England states, and I don't know if that's because they use one of the other systems or not, but they're not unusual out there. Every time you enter a toll road out here on I-25, E-470, that's an ALPR system that's capturing your license plate. Every time you go into park down at DIA somewhere, that's an ALPR system that's capturing your license plate. So these are not new systems to our society. They've been in use for many, many years. Now, we control, for example, and I've had the opportunity to speak with Speaker Pro Tem Basenecker, Representative Zarakawi, and Senator Kipp about these, and it was an amazing conversation that enlightened some of the concerns, right? And that's always the good part about having good partners and conversations that don't always agree with where you're going, because it broadens your horizons. So one of the things that we don't allow is if when you enter a search string, you have to tell us why, or tell Flock why you're searching. if you put in immigration or if you put in something related to reproductive rights, it automatically disallows access to our system. So even if you're in Florida or you're Houston or Longmont and you put in something in there that says about immigration, you will not get access to our system to record those kinds of things because of state law. So what do we use it for? Well, we use it obviously to solve a lot of crimes. For example, I can tell you the way the flock system is set up, and if you want to call it the genius of it, previous ALPR systems were sold strictly to law enforcement agencies. Now, I've heard some concerns about the cost. It's about $2,500 per camera per year is what it costs. In the scheme of things, that's actually pretty cheap. So every time you go and buy something at Shields, you're hitting an ALPR. You're hitting one of these ALPRs. Because these systems, the way their business model is designed, that apartment complexes, homeowners association, businesses can use that to help prevent loss prevention and those kinds of things. And those businesses share that information. They have the option of sharing with law enforcement or not. And of course, majority of them do because it's there to solve their loss. So let's see, where was I? So what do we do with, I think there's something else. Oh, finally, Zach Anderson, who's a deputy at Berthoud. I peppered him with a lot of questions last night and said, help me, I know this is coming up, and give you some information. Now, one of the questions I didn't ask, that I didn't think about, but he provided to me is endorsements. So nationally, who endorses the use of ALPRs? Not necessarily Flock, because there's, like I said, there's multiple vendors that are out there. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children endorse Flock or ALPRs, Safe House Project, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, and the NAACP Oakland chapter has endorsed Flock as well, citing that Flock has helped reduce the discretionary stops that have historically and disproportionately impacted Black and Brown residents in their community. So we're seeing a lot of endorsements because, again, it doesn't take a picture of your face. It doesn't take a picture of who you are. It takes a picture of your vehicle. And that's all it does. Now, how does it get into there? So we can enter things. So like if we think that we have this information that this red Jeep Wrangler has committed crimes in Larimer County, we can create an entry into the Flock system that says, hey, we're looking for a red Jeep Wrangler. We think here's what the license plate is, and either we have it fully or we have partial plates that can be entered into it, or we know it has the Rams Village sticker in the corner. And now anytime it hits, that Wrangler would go through one of those cameras, it will alert a deputy who's watching, or a police officer, or a state patrol trooper, or whomever. It actually just bings on their computer and it says, and then they go and it's part of an investigative lead. We also get things from NCIC, the National Crime Information Center computer, and as well as CCIC. So anytime there's like a missing child or an Amber Alert is issued, those are also automatically loaded into all of the ALPR systems. So that if that car, and we have a perfect example of that I'm going to talk about here in very, very quickly, here in Larimer County, that allows the recovery of children. Okay, so what do we use it for? These are headlines from the Larimer County Sheriff's Office, right? We truly, thankfully, if we have to have homicides, thankfully most homicides are not stranger homicides, right? There's a relationship there that allows us a lead. This one was one of those rare cases where there was totally unrelated, random, and it's an ongoing case, but an ALPR down in the Berthoud area, a Flock camera, gave us a suspect vehicle that allowed us to follow up then. Now, it is only an investigative lead. It does not give us the authority to go out and arrest somebody just based upon that, but it gives us a direction to go. And then all the other tools, including wearing out shoe leather, knocking on doors, and going, and interviewing people, is where we have to develop a probable cause required by the Constitution to effect an arrest. So that is one that helped us. We solved. Let's see here. Oops, I went a little bit too far. So I'm going to talk about Ashley Doolittle here in a minute. So suspect arrested for first-degree murder. If you remember, earlier in the summer, we had literally another homicide. It took place in Weld County, but they brought the victim, put him underneath a bridge abutment in one of our natural areas up the Cooter Canyon, and lit the body on fire. Had it not been for an ALPR, for a flock camera for that, we'd have no suspects. So that is where we got our first suspect lead. And again, we had to winnow it down. That wasn't the only vehicle that was captured. It was a suspect vehicle. There was probably a couple dozen other ones, but that's where you have to start working now the process of elimination and doing the other work, because we didn't go out and arrest 24 people because their cars went through the ALPR, but it gave us a lead that brought justice and closure to the family. Several other cases I don't have highlighted in there. So we talked about missing in children, right? So we had the Amber Alert out of Utah the night before Thanksgiving, and that came into Colorado. It was a flock camera system that hit on the vehicle that had been entered by Utah, with the suspect and the 14-year-old victim inside the car, allowed us to locate them up in Wellington and bring her back home safely to her parents because of an ALPR system. You may or may not have heard about the robberies that we've had, the burglaries that we've had in the gun stores here in Larimer County and other parts of northern Colorado. We've recovered some of those weapons, and we're making a huge dent in that because we don't want weapons in the hands of people who shouldn't have them, right? Liberty Arms in Fort Collins, Shooter Supply on East Mulberry, places in Longmont. There was a big gang movement, quite honestly, and I can say it was a gang movement that affected these burglaries. Well, it was ALPRs that helped us narrow them down, bring some people into custody, as well as prevent other ones, because now we knew what vehicles we were looking for, and we were able to prevent them from recommitting other burglaries because the ALPR hit on the vehicle. Finally, this is some of you will remember, this is Ashley Doolittle, right? Ashley Doolittle was the rodeo queen back in 2015 that was murdered 3 weeks after graduation by her boyfriend. She was just a couple weeks past her 18th birthday. Now, we didn't solve this because of ALPR, but we were able to bring closure to the family. So one of the things at the time, they were in their nascent beginnings here in Larimer County throughout the state. However, there was one set up on I-70 near Colbrand out in Mesa County. And the suspect's vehicle was recorded going through that after Ashley had been reported missing. And we were pretty sure that she had been the victim of something nefarious. We didn't know what it was yet, but it was the suspect's vehicle being captured by the ALPR. Further interviews with the family that led us to a property out in the Colbrand area that actually led us to recovering her body. Unfortunately, she was already deceased, but we were able at least to bring closure to the family because of an ALPR system. So I'm going to end my presentation, and that was probably longer than you anticipated, but I will open it up for questions, comments, concerns.
Thank you, Sheriff, and I appreciate that, and appreciate the cases you brought up. As you know, Ashley Doolittle happened near my home, where she was murdered. So I just appreciate that. I'm going to start with Commissioner Kafalis. I believe he had the bulk of the questions. So, Commissioner Kafalis.
Thank you. Once again, thank you.
You're welcome, Mike.
And I did read the proposal, so a lot of my questions were answered there, and this further enhances that. A couple of follow-up questions, perhaps. Some folks have expressed that this is, I think you've addressed this, but maybe you could expound on it. And folks have addressed that the use of these ALPR camera systems, in particular, this particular vendor, it's helpful to know that there are multiple vendors. And I know we have different types of cameras, but they have said it's a violation of Fourth Amendment rights. But I think you kind of addressed that in terms of it provides investigative leads. You still need probable cause. But perhaps could you speak to that a little bit more, sir?
Right. So, and that's one of the things I've asked Zach, and he's doing some research, Zach Anderson, is case law, if there's any relevant case law to ALPRs, because that's really what guides us, right? What do the court systems say, the Court of Appeals, the laws, and then the Constitution if it gets to SCOTUS at some point. There is a case law out there. He texted me about just in a minute. I have not had a chance to review it. Katz versus somebody. It's KATZ. I'll have it, but let me dig into that. So, but you're right. You're out. The argument, whether you feel it's specious or not, but you're out in the public domain in your vehicle, you can be seen, and we're not taking a picture of you personally. We're taking a picture of your vehicle that's driving out in a public road. So I can put a deputy in the corner of every road, right, and write license plate numbers down. And this is a time saver for us and helps with investigative leads. And again, kind of like, if you were going to do photo lineups for suspects and go in here, picked up who committed this crime. Again, that is just one of many investigative leads that helps develop that probable cause. Thankfully, I think the law enforcement agencies in Larimer County, and again, I can speak to Larimer County, and I know there's concerns about statewide, as well as our district attorney's offices are very cognizant and cautious about making sure that we have robust probable cause established before we start talking about taking someone's civil liberties away from them.
May I continue with a few more?
Certainly, Mr.
Thanks.
Commissioner.
Thanks for engaging me, Sheriff. I think this is really important. We speak about transparency, and this is an important topic.
Absolutely.
A number of folks have expressed various concerns, so let's try to do our best to put the information out there for people to consider. Another concern is the notion of, could the camera system be used for racial profiling? Once again, with the greatest respect for you and your team, you shed some light on that, and that is that the camera is really focused on taking a picture of the license plate and the vehicle, not necessarily the person driving or persons. So maybe you could expound on that. And also, is it an issue or a concern on your part as a law enforcement person that, yes, the cameras are not taking pictures of folks, but if you look up that license plate and see a particular name associated with that license plate, might that trigger some type of action that is based on the surname of the person driving?
So that's a very valid concern, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you that, that would never happen, right? Because we've seen in our history of society, and I'm not going to be supercilious about it a whole lot, but any tool can be used for nefarious purposes, right? I mean, a tire wrench is designed to change your tire, but we've seen homicides for that. Can somebody with bad intent use this system in a bad manner for profiling, for following the ex-wife, for whatever? Absolutely. Do I, as a law enforcement officer, am I going to tolerate that? Not at all, because again, we talk about trust in our community, and there has to be a certain degree of trust. This system goes away. We have responsibility to use it right, so it doesn't go away, to allay those fears. And you're absolutely right. This is a huge concern for our society currently, and I am fascinated and willing to engage, and because it opens my eyes in civil discourse about people who don't agree with me about it. Can I guarantee you that it's never going to be used for ill purposes? I'm not going to tell you that, because I can't make you that promise. And the first time I say, I promise, Commissioner, and you're like, but here's an example. The trust piggy bank just went down. So we are safeguarding those opportunities, having those communications and transparency to help stop that. As you ask me another one, I'm going to try to pull up the system and show you what it captures. I'm going to try.
One more, and then perhaps you folks
Yeah,
have
we
questions.
have questions too.
Yes,
Thank you,
absolutely.
Commissioner.
And then, if time allows, I have a few more, and then I'll be done with my part of the conversation. My next question would be, let's see, you mentioned about data sharing, and that if certain keywords are brought up, then folks can't have access to the system. It is my understanding, and correct this if it's not a proper understanding, that the vendor in question here that has shared this information with federal agencies that are involved in immigration enforcement. So what additional safeguards? If somebody wants access to the data and they don't use those trigger words, does that mean they can get access to the data? What safeguards are in place to make sure that law enforcement are the only ones that have access, and it's for investigative purposes and so on?
And I don't know that I can provide you with that certainty. I am not personally aware of who Flock. I mean, they're a business, right? So if Homeland Security and Immigration becomes a customer of theirs, I'm not sure that they're going, because I mean, because they're a law enforcement agency as well at a national level. So if they signed up and wanted to put in their own Flock cameras, I don't know that Flock would say no. I don't know that that's happened though, so I can't speak to that from an educated standpoint.
Okay, thank you, colleagues.
Commissioner Stevens.
Yeah, thank you, Sheriff, for being here. I appreciate that because we've heard a lot of things about the cameras. Is it you said that everything is deleted by everything that you're capturing is deleted after 30 days, but the state requires that to be deleted after a year. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. Is there? My understanding was that at some point that Flock was going to move to some video type cameras. Are these kind of still images at this point, or is there a video capability?
All the cameras that we have are still images.
Still images. Okay. Yeah, I mean, so you're saying that if somebody inputs something that says something about immigration or abortion rights or reproductive rights, that they wouldn't find anything. But I mean, it could be used. I mean, in the wrong hands to sort of monitor someone's movements or behavior. Is that right? I mean, I mean, I guess I know the community is really concerned about that kind of surveillance, right? I mean, and I think that there's a lot of trust at the local level, and I think as we get up in the chain of the state and federal government, there becomes less trust around how these cameras can be used. And you mentioned that 634 agencies have access, right, to this data. I'm assuming that goes away after the 30 days, right? There's just not enough bandwidth or cloud storage to be able to maybe even hold these, or it's too expensive to kind of hold them for more than 30 days. But I guess I just I want us to be really cautious in this space because you're right. This tool can be used for good and to really help people, to help find children and stuff like that. But I feel like there are cases across the U.S. where it has been used to harass residents or citizens, and so I mean that's that's where the struggle is. It's that we're living in a society where there isn't a lot of trust at the federal level, and we have seen regular residents and citizens be sort of hassled, and so I think that as much assurance that you can give the community that obviously I know your intent, and I know you as a human being, and I know my concern is the 634 agencies that we share the data with. I don't know all their intents. And so that's my real concern here on this. And yet, I understand that it's pretty prevalent. I mean, it's in the Target parking lot, and it's on E470, and so I think people need to be aware that that even if we weren't using this system, that this is often being captured almost everywhere they are. And I don't know. I watch all those British police procedurals, and it's CCTV, and they're always, and that is video. And so, yeah, I mean, just I guess I would say keep us posted and kind of think about how we can be vigilant and help us figure this out. How we can make the community, I don't know that we can reassure them 100% because I mean, like you said, there's always folks out there that might not do the right thing. But I appreciate the additional information. It's very helpful. Thank you.
If I may.
It's not a question and more of a comment.
Yeah, I have some questions after that, but go ahead, Sheriff. Thank you.
And you're absolutely right, Commissioner, and I appreciate that. One of the things, but everything, here's a little bit of reassurance is that we monitor everything. So even if you're Poughkeepsie PD, which I don't know if we share with Poughkeepsie, but as an example, right? Every keystroke that accesses our system, there's a trail. There's a digital trail, and our our supervisors of our system, Zach Anderson being one, monitors that every month. And all of a sudden, if we start seeing, well, why is Poughkeepsie hitting our system, that will tell us exactly what they're looking for, and from which we can make decisions based upon our integrity, our trust with the community, whether we allow that sharing to continue. But you're right. After the 30 days, when we delete the data, no, you can't get it unless you've already downloaded it for investigative purposes.
Can I just follow up on what he just said?
Yeah, because I have a similar line I'd like
Okay,
to
I
ask.
just that's really helpful. And so, in that kind of case, would you call them and say, "Hey, what's your end game here? Why are you digging into our data?"
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff, and appreciate you being here and bringing all this information. I've been part of a discussion group with other electeds across the state that had similar concerns, and they've been pulling data and looking at these items. I'm going to first start with building off of Commissioner Stevens' line of questioning. 634 agencies is a lot. And so my first question there, I'll just ask three. I have probably a few more that maybe I can ask online. And I do, a lot of my questions have been covered by the other commissioners on the dais. So the 634 agencies have access to that at any time. And so they can maybe be watching our cameras the same time you're watching your cameras, correct?
So I just want to make sure words are important. So watching the cameras, nobody watches the cameras. It's not like we talked about. It's not a video. They can enter search parameters for a vehicle that may pull up stuff, but they're not watching the cameras. But
Okay.
yes, they can access the data that our cameras collect. To your point.
Okay, thank you. And I just want to clarify and confirm again that there is no face taken with the car. So because I think a lot of folks are worried, especially with reproductive rights and other things, that maybe someone is seen leaving a building and then that face, or they're looking for those folks, right? I'm just curious about that.
You're absolutely right. And I wish I am not a great user of this system. I'm trying to find where I drove my personal car through one. I was able to find it last night, so I could show you exactly what it looks like. So this system does not. But I don't want people to be naive to think that there isn't, right? I mean, around this building, there are cameras everywhere. Around the Justice Center, Ring doorbells. I mean, you cannot go out in public nowadays without being on somebody's camera somewhere. So don't think that just because you put rules and regulations around this, that now all of a sudden you're not going to be captured on camera somewhere, unfortunately.
And now the 634 agencies, are those local and state governments, or are there federal agencies that are part of that 634 agencies?
I did not see any federals when I didn't monitor all 634. And the way the contract works is when you sign up with Flock with this company, and I can't speak to Leonardo or some of the other ones, right? You have the ability to say, who do you want to share with? And you can do like all the above, or you can select. So I did not see any federal partners within that. Most of them are sheriff's offices. We share with Fort Collins and Loveland and Boulder and Weld and those kinds of things. But
I'm assuming
not
like the
federal
state,
partners.
like the State Patrol or something.
State Patrol, yeah, we share with them
Okay.
as well. Yep.
And so, there's been controversy even locally here about the flock cameras and who they did allow in to have access. And you mentioned other vendors that have this opportunity. Is there a reason, and I'm just asking for the public, why going with Flock versus a different vendor? Because you just mentioned that the Northeast isn't maybe online because you're not seeing them there. I'm just curious because I do see in the news a lot of folks are terminating their contracts with Flock and going with maybe something else. And I think your point is well taken that it is happening other places, and I'm just curious about that.
And I think, it's going to be totally supposition, Madam Chairwoman. It became a critical mass. First, the price point per cameras, because the other systems were asking $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 annually for a single camera. And so trying to be good stewards of the taxpayers' money and still increase public safety, this became an obvious tool with us. The fact that they did market to private businesses, private HOAs, private communities, and that those communities could share with their local law enforcement to get increased public safety. And at some point, it reached a critical mass, right? It's like you start looking around our region, and bad people don't recognize boundaries, right? It's like who in our region, in northern Colorado and the state and southern Wyoming, what tools are they using? Well, it only made sense then. So we jumped on, and that drove other people to flock. And so I think that's kind of what you saw there was a critical mass had been reached.
Thank you. I appreciate that. My last question, and then my colleagues have, there's lots of discussion and maybe online buzz about the back end, because it does go to a cloud, and that some of these cameras can be hacked or the information be hacked, and there's, depending on what you read or where you read, that could be true or not true, and there might have been maybe one misconfiguration here or there. Is that something that you have learned about from your deputies, and is there a reassurance of security? Or I had scanned the agreement, but I don't remember anything about cybersecurity or reassurances for that, or what kind of insurance or what kind of reassurances they give.
Right. So there is security there, and is the most robust that you can get in the private sector, not outside the Department of Defense in the military. Right. It's the same cloud systems that Colorado Bureau of Investigation uses for everybody's criminal records. It's the same cloud system that you use, the Department of Motor Vehicle uses for your motor vehicle licenses, right? I mean, it's what we use, a CJIS compliant system for our own internal records here at the county. So can things be hacked? Yeah, I'm sure there probably is, right? Some 16-year-old in his basement somewhere who is going to be the next whiz kid, and aren't older, I shouldn't characterize that, but you could probably do that, just like the medical records at Banner or UC Health or someplace can. So can I give you, again, 100% guarantee and certainty that would never, ever happen? I'd be lying to you if I could. What I can tell you is that every measure that it is possible with the most robust cybersecurity systems that are available nationwide are being utilized in these systems as well. That's why they're CJIS compliant.
Thank you for answering my questions. These are a lot of common questions, and I appreciate you kind of expanding on some of the others, and appreciate your time today, especially as we're all trying to navigate the train, which I'm hoping, again, no one was injured. But that's all I have for right now. Commissioner Kafalos, do you have other questions, sir?
Yeah, thank you, colleagues. Thanks, Sheriff. Just a couple more, if that's
Sure, absolutely. Please, I'm at your disposal.
I find this to be very helpful, and I hope some folks are listening, or we can figure out proper ways to follow up. One of the questions I have is, I believe in the beginning of your presentation, you stated that there are perhaps 150 of these cameras deployed. Looking at the proposal, which has a lot of good detail in here, it appears that there are approximately 50 that are deployed in unincorporated parts of the county. So we know that Fort Collins, Loveland, other jurisdictions, law enforcement are using this technology. So my question there, sir, is what is the methodology that your office uses to determine where these cameras should be deployed? And there are perhaps 50 or so stationary cameras. You showed us a picture. That was pretty interesting, trying to figure out where that is. But there's also one or two mobile units. So maybe you could speak to that. And then in the proposal, it talks about, and this is part of the answer to the question. Sorry that I'm going on and on. It talks about prevention of, potential terrorism activities, soft targets. I think like this building, the Justice Center, are probably soft targets, and so this technology is deployed there within the city limits. Could you speak a little bit about how you all decide where to put this stuff? What about these mobile units, and how does it help with prevention if there's an event? And this way we can be aware of what's happening and make sure that everyone is safe.
Yep, no, absolutely.
Oh, gosh, thanks.
No, I appreciate it. And I apologize. Someday in another meeting, I'm going to show you what it captures. I am struggling here. It's a good thing I'm not a real cop on the road and only the sheriff. So I can't show you the picture of my personal cars. I was going to have Sergeant Reardon do it, but he abandoned me. So, so locations, how we determine those, we look for major points of transit, right? So if bad people were going to do something, where do we put them? So entrances and exits to all of our communities. So, because if you're like, if you talk about the most nefarious, I want to know, are you still in my community or are you not in my community, right? If you're a kidnap suspect or you're a bank robbery suspect, are you coming into my community? And so, I mean, I'm not going to put it on, in front of my house or in front of your residential neighborhoods because the likelihood of something there happening is less likely. However, if something does happen in your neighborhood, most of the time when people are escaping or trying to leave that area, they're going to go through a major route of travel, right? Highway 34, Highway 14, Prospect, those kinds of areas. And you're right. So other areas, now while we don't, and I want to be very cautious when we talk about, not for security reasons, but we don't actually have like any ALPRs around this building. We have other cameras that record you when you come in, that have AI built into them as part of the whole county infrastructure for a variety of reasons. So not just here, but at Fleet, at the Justice Center, out at our new ES building, right? Just the same reason why people put security cameras around their buildings. So we do not, to move on, Larimer County Sheriff's Office, do not have any mobile ALPR units. I think that technology exists and some of our partners may have a couple of those, but I don't know that for certain. Now, I want to be careful, right? Because when I talk about the little pylons and the speed radar cameras that are being utilized, that we have talked about before, that Fort Collins utilizes, the red light cameras that are being utilized, those are also ALPRs. They're not flock camera systems; they're a different system, but they also have the same, right? It goes to the cloud, pulls data down from Department of Motor Vehicles to find out who the registered owner of the vehicle is. It captures data about, did you go through the red light, what your speeds are. Those cameras capture the driver. So unlike the flock cameras that we are using for ALPRs, we just capture the rear of the car or the front of the license plate area of the car. The ones that you're getting an automated ticket through actually will capture the picture of the face of the driver. So I'm not sure if that's what you mean by mobile units, because I know Fort Collins has a couple of the little minivan thingies that drive around in different parks in different areas.
Great. Thank you. And this will be my last question. And it goes back to the matter before us. Maybe you could say a little bit about what this proposal is. As I understand it, it is a grant request. You alluded to it was a service proposal through our budget process, et cetera, in 2025. But it is a grant request to the Federal Emergency Management Agency that is supported by the State Department of Homeland Security and Public Safety, perhaps. Could you say a little bit about this grant request? And also, I noticed that both the towns of Berthoud and Wellington are doing some of the cost sharing, and they've actually asked for some of this technology to be deployed in their areas.
Yes, that's absolutely correct. So it is like you identified, the money pathway and who's sponsoring that, but it's designed to reduce crime and to give more visibility for these kind of technologies, or one of the eligible technologies. It's not specifically for flock, right? Like any grant, it can be used for a variety of things. This is what we wrote it for, to maintain what we currently have. You're absolutely correct. The communities of Wellington and Berthoud have both, they share that cost with the Larimer County Sheriff's Office, 50-50, and they're deployed around their communities to great success.
And that's in part because we do the law enforcement for those communities. We have annexes both in the town of Wellington and in the town of Berthoud.
That is correct.
Yes. Thank you, colleagues. I believe I've asked all of my questions.
Okay, Commissioner Stevens, any more? Great. Lori Kadrich, would you like to add anything as our Assistant County Manager this morning? And I appreciate the public as we've had a long discussion, but this seems the best way to handle this today by not completely pulling it off the agenda. So Lori, would you like to add anything? Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. Sheriff, earlier you mentioned that there were certain keywords that you could put into the system that would prevent someone from accessing the system. Are those keywords locally determined or are they part of the system overall?
They're locally determined.
Okay, thank you.
You're quite welcome.
Okay, thank you, sir, for your presentation today and coming in and bringing some great information and helping us have a discussion in a transparent, accountable way for the public to, so that they can see that we're asking important questions for all of us. And I do appreciate you sharing the local control over that and how we're committed to protecting people's privacy when we can. And so, but this has been very useful, and especially for the missing child one. I think that was recent. I remember that was very powerful. So I think with that being said, we'll have.
Can I take 20 seconds?
Yes, you can, sir.
PSA? So I won't take long. I want to thank you all for this opportunity as well. And I don't know how 14,000 people in our community are watching this, or if there's 1.4 people. But this is an important conversation, this and several others. And so while I would ask you to engage me, community, right? Quite honestly, let's talk about it. We may not agree, but let's have some civil discourse about it. Because in my conversations with people who have not always agreed with this, I've learned things, and hopefully I've helped educate them as well to certain degrees. And so ask, and I will share, and we'll talk. So thank you for the PSA.
No, I agree, and I think this is important for a lot of reasons for us to show the public that our consent agenda, we do look at that and we have questions. This might happen again, and this is important that we are engaging. And I do appreciate your willingness to come and just have this conversation, and it's important. And I agree with you. It's if we did more of this and had civil conversations about items that we may not always 100% align on, at least we come to maybe a deeper understanding of each other and where we're at. And I'm sure everyone in the room or watching online learned one new thing today. So I think that's really a great thing. So we're going to go ahead and proceed, sir. If you want to sit down, we'll move on to approving this agenda. So Commissioner Kafalis, now that you've pulled that item in discussion, I'm asking you to make the motion, sir, to approve the consent agenda, including this item for today.
Thank you. I move to approve the consent agenda for January 20th, 2026.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, we'll move on. Consent agenda is approved. Again, thanks to the sheriff and everyone here for the questions and the conversation. Important. Any commissioner guests today? Okay, great. And now we have no discussion items, and none was requested. So we'll move on to a county manager update. Assistant County Manager Lori Kadrich. I know our County Manager Lauren DeVolker couldn't be here today. She's not feeling well. So do you have anything you'd like to add? Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. The only thing that I would add on her behalf is that we were able to have a meeting with the school district representatives that you may speak to, Madam Chair, as well. But it was at the ranch, and we discussed the master plan for the ranch. And I wanted to give a shout out on her behalf to our staff that arranged for breakfast for us and then helped facilitate a discussion about what kinds of projects are underway at the ranch campus and how their communities might be impacted by that. And I thought that was a very good use of everyone's time. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori Kadrich. And yeah, I am going to share about that because I do think staff did an amazing job. Okay, so now we're going to move on to Commissioner activity reports, and we'll start with Commissioner Stevens.
Thank you. I'll be brief here. Last week I was able to testify in support of the CDOT's 10-year plan for Region 4. There are projects that help our region and we have worked with our regional partners on those projects, and identified those projects and worked with CDOT. And so I spoke to the Transportation Commission in support of those dollars coming into our region. And so I think that people will be excited about some of the projects, including some improvements on 34 and other projects on I-25. So that was a great opportunity to, be supportive and really talk about the benefits of bus staying. For folks who don't know, the bus staying route that runs from Fort Collins to Denver is one of the most successful bus staying routes across the state and has the highest fare intake and ridership. So we encourage them to, keep that going as well. It's a great commuting option for a lot of folks. So a lot of great things in the 10-year plan, and happy to share some more of the projects at a future time, but wanted to let folks know that is moving through the pipeline, so to speak, and the funding hopefully is in place for those projects to happen. And then just, we all attended the Martin Luther King Junior Day activities yesterday. It was great to speak to a lot of members of the public, and so appreciate the efforts that our Public Affairs Department had in getting helping us get to the room where we could talk to constituents and people about what the county does. And I think those are always great conversations to have. People are really curious. They don't understand. They want to get engaged. And so it was really a great opportunity. And then just thankful for the folks at CSU for hosting and really celebrating Black culture and Black excellence, and and honoring Dr. King. So a really great and inspiring opportunity. Even though we didn't have the march this year, there were still a lot of people in attendance, a lot of young people, and so always a hopeful event. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. And yes, we all attended that. I appreciate you sharing that. I'll share a couple of items too. Commissioner Cafalas, did you want to add any comments or reports? Thank you.
I will pass this morning.
Okay. Well, I want to share a few items, and it's been even with the holiday weekend was a day on for a lot of us, not a day off. It was very busy. And there's just a lot happening in our communities, and it was a really active a few days for me, and I just wanted to share a few of those things. First, I had a wonderful breakfast with some of the fire chiefs, and talking about our continued work together, and sharing about wildfire risk, and how we can partner and together and share information, and how we work together. So it was really productive, and I appreciate that very much. Also, I attended the National Association of Counties Environment, Energy, Land Use Steering Committee, and also I'm on the Rural Action Caucus and other Middle Caucus. And there is an item that the National Association of Counties is really pushing for local control and adding, called the SPEED Act, to make sure that locals, governments have a say and are considered in some of the processes, and that they're included with having a say. And I wanted to share that with my colleagues, because I do think that's really important to bring on our radar. And I'll be sharing some more details with staff that we can be shared with the colleagues. But I wanted to bring that to our attention. I do think that's an opportunity to make sure that we are involved with that. We had our Board of County Commissioners work session I wanted to highlight, because we had some great conversations about transfer of development rights, which is something that our staff is working on with this grant. And I do think, and it also is going to be brought forward to our Open Lands Advisory Board. And I think that was really an important conversation, and our staff are doing a phenomenal job. And actually, I ran into, at our Martin Luther King event yesterday, I ran into some folks who know Danielle Ramus, and I want to give her a shout out, because they talked highly about her and her engagement with the water plan that she helped lead for the county, which won an award. And lots of staff, Leslie Ellis and Rebecca Everett, and we all worked on that along with all the stakeholders. But I just wanted to, it's nice to be in areas and have a great conversation and hear about staff doing good work. We had our county, Topsa School District birthed, City of Loveland, Larimer County. liaison meeting. We meet quarterly. This time the county hosted. We had it at the ranch. Yes, staff did an amazing job. It was stellar. It was well done, well presented. And of course, as we have breakfast, we meet fairly early in the morning. So it was ready to go and it was delicious. And I appreciate all of our partners come. They usually come with the elected and either the city or county manager or the superintendent, Dr. Heller, came, and I appreciate him being there. We didn't have him from the school board this time, but we had Dr. Heller, so that was great. And I wanted to thank them for their questions. And then I want to highlight and shout out to Connor McGrath and Louise, I'm drawing last name, Merrill. They did an outstanding job. And presenting what the ranch, the master plan point one, all the things happening, 2.0, the master plan, what we're hoping to do, and talk about all the events, the number of events, the volunteering, what we give back to the community, a number of community events. It was really outstanding. And I'm hoping that we will be able to do that again and share with folks. And certainly folks, there's a chance you go on the website to sign up for the newsletter. Sign up and there's a newsletter that comes out with updates and very transparent and accountable. You can see what's happening and see pictures. And again, commend the ranch staff for a job well done. I did have like I said, I had my Rural Action Caucus. Again, the SPEED Act came up. I had my community conversation up in Estes Park. I wanted to highlight one of those conversations I had there because it was with a gentleman who is former law enforcement, but also used to work in volunteers at school. And I shared about the behavioral health center and gave him one of the flyers. And he's writing a book on school security and his experiences. And so we had a really interesting conversation. And I learned some new things especially about rural schools and schools that are in isolated locations like in mountain communities like Estes Park. And so I really appreciated that conversation. And it's just interesting how many folks, you never know who you're sitting next to, has a really interesting story. So I really thankful folks let me have a good talk. I wanted to share, I visited Estes Park. We had our monthly board of directors meeting. I want to thank my colleagues for allow me to be there and represent you all. There's lots to share. I will at another day, lots of things happening with Visit Estes Park as we're changing some of the governor's models and things. But I was elected as the vice chair of the Visit Estes Park board. Nick Smith will be the president. He owns Lumpy Ridge Brewery. And then the former president, Sean Jurgens, who is a hotel and lodging owner, will now be the treasurer and the secretary. And so I just wanted to share that with you all. And I was just surprised how quickly they got our things up on the website. So that kind of took me by surprise. And then since I was up there and it was very windy, of course, the Estes Valley Planning Advisory Committee, as you know, we're beginning the transition of that becoming a different kind of community engagement. And we had 4 or 5 options for folks to look at and get feedback. I did honor all of the folks some of them had served on the old planning commission before we had that dissolution of the IGA, and they've been there every step of the way. Even with the comprehensive plan and all the work. And so I gave them all certificates of appreciation. I appreciate staff working on that. And then also just wanted to especially thank Mr. Dave Converse and Drew Webb, who are still some of the ones that have been there every step of the way from the beginning. And they have been really stalwart, objective, critical thinkers for a lot of that work, and I want to thank them for that. And the reason I'm sharing this because there's really big things that happen in all these meetings. They're really big, important meetings. So I want to thank Leslie Ellis, who's in the audience, and Rebecca Everett, as we sat down and worked on options going forward for the Visit Estes Park feedback. Or not Visit Estes Park, Estes Valley and Estes Park feedback for us to have as Board of County Commissioners and other planning items. And we're going to test drive some of those options tomorrow at my town hall, which is the Wildfire Town Hall in Estes Park. It's all right here. And we have a film showing. And so we're going to test drive one of those options tomorrow. And I'm making just to see how that works. So I wanted to let the public know already we're making sure the engagement is strong and O2A communication and transparent. And even though we're making some changes, which is something we have to do with looking forward at budgets and systems and capacity. I want to shout out Heart and Soul, and partnered with the Thompson School District and had the Martin Luther King Day celebration and birthday party at the Mountain View High School. And they asked, so yeah, I was all over the county on Thursday. They asked me to speak along with the mayor of Loveland and Heart and Soul and Dr. Heller, and also the state MLK Commission came and had a ceremony where we each got to hold the torch, and we handed it to each other as we passed the torch down. This is also a chance for Thompson School District students all the way from kindergarten up to high school to participate with articles, poems, writings, art, and this year they added musical songs. Or there's two students, actually, one kindergarten, one middle school, that wrote songs and performed them, and it was amazing. There was a student from Kenya who was an exchange student who was there through the Rotary, who read some comments that just blew me away. And how looking at not only having your dream, but just even a worldwide view. And the students just hit it out of the ballpark. I mean, talk about quotes and really meaningful statements. So I want to shout out to the Thompson Education Foundation, the Thompson School District, Heart and Soul, and all those participated, and to thank the MLK State Commission for coming up and participating. It was really meaningful, and I just really thought it was well done, especially involving the youth in such a highway. It was really spectacular. So that's why I wanted to make sure I shared some of that, because there's a lot of work goes into that. We had a lot of work as commissioners, but one of those was the CCI Renewable Energy Working Group, which is trying to work with community renewable energy partners in the Western Resources Group. There might be some action from the state, but it was very great to have folks who maybe don't always align, partner, and saying, no, we think we have this and we are working well together. Maybe we don't need anything to fix this. There's nothing to fix. And I wanted to share that because that doesn't always happen in these meetings. And that we're all going to stand united together to say, hey, this is working and we're great partners and we're communicating, and look how this meeting went. And I wanted to just share that because that was really refreshing and extremely, it was great. I appreciated that. And then we had our suicide fatality review with the coroner's office and looking at the 2025 numbers of suicides. As you know, we had a very high number in 2024. I can report, not officially yet, but the numbers came down slightly for 2025. Still, one is too many, but I wanted to kind of just share with my colleagues. I'm looking forward to getting some more details, but that was important to hear. And then as the state legislators, the town hall was full. Great to hear about more in depth about some of their legislative progress, and there was great questions for the audience, and I want to thank them for holding those town halls. As we all participated in the MLK reading and proclamation, just a reminder that we did a joint proclamation with the city of Fort Collins and CSU, and we each read a section, and also wanted to make sure we knew that Fort Range Community College president came and read a section as well. So it was really great to have us all up there together again. I think that's a very united group. And showing to the public. It was a full room, and we had ran into several folks from our community advisory board who were there, not as community advisory board, but had signed up to volunteer. And so, as I understand, there was 312 individual toiletry bags that were packed, and 89 bags of clothes. And so I agree with you, Commissioner Stevens, lots of community came up and asked us some really great questions. And we did participate in the mural project, and I got to talk to that artist who did that, who created that and was fine tuning it. And what an amazing gentleman! And I just really appreciate the conversations we had. So with that, I just thought those were important things. I hope that my colleagues, we can maybe look at the SPEED Act together and have maybe a discussion. I think that might be something we want to look at. So with that, I know that's a lot to share, but I'm sorry, one more thing. I went to the first Peaceful Festival up in Estes Park, which is held and organized by Nico Strangeow, who lives up in Estes Park and in the Valley, and also here in Fort Collins. And she has done this for a few years. There's a fashion show, an Indigenous fashion show, and then they have an evening where one of the restaurants actually cooks Indigenous foods. And it grew this year. Actually, I didn't know there was a whole nother room. It was full for the dances and the powwow, the friendship powwow, they called it. And lots of vendors, and Nico Strangeout and her family for generations has held eagle plumes on Highway 7. And it was really, people come from all over the area, but a lot of people come up from Fort Collins and Loveland, a lot of Estes Park folks. And it just wanted to share that they're looking to more community engagement, especially with youth. And I think there's a possible partnership with this Claudia from the city of Fort Collins, and I wanted to highlight that this is maybe a region, and I wanted to highlight that so I don't forget to discuss that with you, staff. And if you haven't gone, it's such a welcoming space, and I got to participate in 3 of the dances, and that's not always. They would just really want to embrace the community, and I just wanted to share that because it's really it's a free event. And I just wanted to share it. If you haven't seen that or been a part of that, it's a very moving and important event, and lots of great local vendors, local folks, and some of the best spice and chili I've ever had. So with that, I almost forgot to share that, but I wanted to let you all know about that. It was a really great event. So we have no other items on our agenda, and we do have an executive session today. And so I'm going to ask Commissioner Stevens to make that motion, but just for everyone to understand, there's no decision expected today. So we are now done with our administrative matters portion of our meeting. We're going to move into executive session. We will not be returning back on screen because there is no decision expected. So Commissioner Stevens, would you please read that motion, please?
Yes, Madam Chair, I move that this board go into executive session pursuant to Colorado Revised Statute 246424B, conferences with an attorney for the purpose of receiving legal advice regarding the Taft Hill Road Expansion Project, condemnation cases 2025 CV 30459, 30460, 30461, 30462, and 30463, update on status of cases and potential settlement discussions.
Thank you for reading that motion, Commissioner Stevens. With that, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all. We are now moving into executive session. Have a wonderful day.